Hello, and welcome to the Potential State. I'm Dr. Assael Romanelli, and today I want to talk to you about the victim triangle. Or, in other words, why do we keep attracting victims, persecutors, or saviors into our life? Or why do we behave that way? And this comes from a well-known theory of the victim triangle that goes in usually in addictions and in violence treatment and the codependency model. And basically, what it says is that some people, for whatever reason, inherit or learn the victim triangle, which is I'm seeing the world or as relationships as between being a victim, a savior, and a persecutor. And what that actually means is I, and that's how I understand the world. We spoke about core beliefs in a few chapters ago. Please check that out. So these are people that from a young age, or all of us, or some of us, we believe that people are either victims, saviors, or persecutors. It's not a conscious thought or knowledge. It's kind of like a core sense of the world. And basically what that means is I create relationships in which these three roles are interchangeable all the time. Either I'm a victim, I'm blaming others, I'm helpless, I'm being mocked, unappreciated, not seen, stepped over, I'm invisible, or I'm seeing other people or myself as the persecutor. I'm guilt tripping other people, or they're abusive to me. They're not treating me nice. They guilt trip me. They don't appreciate me. They walk all over me. Or I'm the savior. I'm a martyr. I need to save everyone. If I won't do it, no one else will do. And then I'm at any given moment, I'm finding myself running between these three polarities. I'm attracting to my life people from these three polarities. And here's the thing about the victim triangle is that if you can see it here, they're actually glasses, right? If I believe that's how the world is, consciously, semi-consciously, unconsciously, that I'm going to be inviting people, I'm going to be wearing these glasses, and I'm going to be attracting people into my life that speak that language, that also like that also see the world as the victim triangle, and then we perfectly bond because they get it and I get it. So they'll move between being the persecutor or my savior, and I'll be either the victim or the savior. So we're going to keep switching between us, whether this is a marriage, colleagues, parent-child interactions, friends. So there's a kind of a natural mesh that feels so natural that my colleague or my boss, he keeps attacking me. He doesn't even see me, and I'm such a victim. And sometimes I yell back, and then I see how fragile he is, and I love him, and I'm so apologetic and I'm so grateful. All right? Think about the codependence model of the abusive husband or wife or the alcoholic partner, and how his or her partner keeps encouraging that by they going, stop drinking, stop drinking, stop drinking. And then suddenly they hit them, and then they become the victim, and then the attacker or the alcoholist says, I'm so sorry, and then he becomes the victim, and the partner becomes the savior. And the things that kind of keep the victim triangle intact are kind of these few presuppositions that love equals pity. The way to love someone is to feel pity for him or her. And also that people can't take care of themselves. They're unclear boundaries. We're kind of enmeshed, what Bowen calls an undifferentiated ego mass. We're like one soup. And I can't trust people to take care of themselves, so I must take care of them. Or people must take care of me because I can't take care of myself. So what happens quite organically is that we'll find ourselves trekking to our lives, professional and personal. People will get that. I'll just say the opposite of that, if you want. Where we're aiming for is a circle where people can take care of themselves, where I feel I'm 100% responsible for my own life. I don't blame others. And I do believe that people can take care of themselves. So those two things together kind of help us move away from the triangle toward the circle. And then And I want to give a few examples of victim triangle, both from the clinic, also from the organizational world. So I want to give the most classic example of being a therapist. So there's a kind of a temptation for me to be in savior mode, right? That's the socialized as well. I'm supposed to know the answers. People that are in pain come to me, and I'm supposed to heal them. So there's the savior complex that we're actually socialized, especially, the social work socialization is, come and help. I've spoken in the past about social workers in Israel being on welfare. They're so saviors, but they're victims, right? So they need to keep protesting to get their salaries, higher. So that's actually a classic example on a sociological level of social workers being part of the victim triangle, or attracting to their profession people that believe in or that participate in or enable the victim triangle. So I've been trying to fight that. People come to my clinic because if I am a savior, then I force them to either be the persecutor, which means the resistant client who doesn't want me, who keeps rejecting me, who keeps thinking that I'm not qualified, I'm not certified, I'm not smart enough, I'll never understand them. Or I'm going to be inviting victims, helpless families, couples, individuals that don't know even to begin, and I need to hold them for many, many years. And it took me a few years to realize this and to kind of try to step out of that. And I want to give an example of that. So a woman who was abused by her husband, also by her parents, goes to a shelter, divorces him, lives on her own, gets about a decade of therapy, 2 kids, 11 and 16. She's coming to me 10 years after the whole ordeal. She's living her life independent, and the organization that was working with her kept giving her more money, more trainings, and just never happy. She was never satisfied. She kept demanding more training and another certification and more money, help her with rent, and they were kind of getting exacerbated by her. And I come to see her, and I realized very, very quickly on that she's still in those classes in the victim triangle. So obviously, I explained to her the model, like I do a lot of times, and she got it, but it was still hard for her to fathom that. So I said, let's come with your kids, because she was complaining as well that her 16-year-old kid is abusive to her, is talking nice to her, is ignoring her, not listening to her curfew, not respecting her, and that her daughter is always worrying too much. So just hearing that, it was clear to me that we're talking somewhere about a recreation of the victim triangle. So I tell her to bring in the kids. Obviously, the 16-year-old doesn't want to come, but the girl comes. And we're having this fascinating conversation. This 11-year-old girl who really believes her role is to save her mom, to save her brother, to keep going between the two, making sure that the brother doesn't get too angry, because the brother gets angry, to feel sorry for her mom that had such a rough history. And for her as an 11-year-old, she couldn't imagine a different reality where she wasn't responsible for her mom or for her brother. She could be responsible for herself, or that her mom can take care of herself. And the mom was saying in words, I don't need your help, I don't need your help. But actually in her behavior, her mom was enabling her or even encouraging her to take savior mode. So we see that often, right? So people will leave abusive relationships or codependent relationships just to recreate them later. Why? Because it's not the person. It's not the actual partner that was abusive. Obviously he or she was, but it's the triangle, the glasses. I'm still wearing those glasses. I'm still looking at the world through victim, persecutor, savior, victim, and I'm just looking for people that get it. And those are the people that are going to come into my life. And I want to give a different example, actually, from the organizational world. I consulted different organizations, and I was consulting to a nonprofit that works with young people at risk. And they were, over a decade in the field, and it was going good, and the kids were approaching them. They weren't getting any donations. Like, parents weren't jumping on board. They were saving these kids, and yet there was no support from the community. And the more I spoke to them, the more it became clear to me that the founders probably had the victim triangle mode, or the savior complex. Because the second you work with young people, you promise kind of confidentiality, and you don't approach the parents. Basically, what you're saying is you enter a coalition with them. You become the savior, they're the victims. So who's the persecutor? Either the parents or society. And what happens is, over time, what you're doing, you're just enabling these young people to see the world through the victim triangle glasses. So paradoxically, they're trying to help them, but by saving them, they're actually condemning them to stay victims. You can see that a lot of times in the welfare system, it's chronic welfare families that just get more and more therapy, more and more help, more and more social workers. And the second you just approach them, they kind of, their pain is so overwhelming that it kind of casts them in the victim and casts you in the savior. And I'll just give one really different example from the Army. So I was doing some training for welfare soldiers, and their job is to do home visits to soldiers that have difficulties at home. And they're 19-year-old women, very, very young, and they've got very basic training, and they go, and the first thing they hear is all the problems of the families. Right? They just knock on the door, oh, you won't believe that. And what's interesting is they just jump into action. They start promising these promises and taking their phone numbers and not sleeping, even though that's not their jurisdiction. And it's not efficient. They're not going to really be able to help them. They cannot imagine the idea of just listening to them and finding either referring them on where they felt like they had to save them, and that was burning them out. And it was inefficient because what happens with the helping profession is we burn out because we have a savior complex. Because every single client comes through our door, we need to save. But once again, we're condemning them to staying victims. We're not really empowering them. Paradoxically, empowering people means not accepting the victim triangle, feeling the pain, being empathetic, but not treating them as victims. The second I realized that, it really changed the way I work with people, whether it's in therapy or in workshop or in counseling or training. Now, we all have a little bit of that triangle in us. But the question is, when it's rigid, when we keep building relationships that recreate that lock us in one of these three roles, that's the moment when we need to stop and pick. Are we in that? Are we recreating this? What's happening here? And I'm going to end with a few tips, unless anybody has questions, but what to do, how to practically avoid such dynamics. So the first thing is recognize if you're seeing that a lot of people in your life are not seeing you or being nasty to you, or you have to hold a lot of people and they're really grateful and you're really kind of going out of your way, almost like you're a martyr. Or if you find yourself being really nasty to other people, belittling them and stuff. So the probability that you're deep in the victim triangle. And then what I recommend is to stop and reflect, draw the triangle like I did before. See which polarity you take most often. And try to write down who are the other people that fill in the triangle. It's possible that the partner or the colleague fills all three or all two. Maybe you're dancing between all three polarities. And then kind of check, what's your secondary gains? We spoke about secondary gains last time. So what are your secondary gains from that? Write that down. See, how's that serving you? What did you learn from that? Who taught you that? Victim triangles usually are adopted way before we actually meet the actual colleague or partner that actually manifests that with us. It's earlier, it's in us, embedded in us. And then once you realize that, next time it happens, next time you're talking to that person, try to stop that interaction. Either stop taking responsibility for them, or stop feeling sorry for them, stop feeling sorry for themselves, stop blaming them for your problem, and try to verbalize it. You can share with them this language and say something like, I just feel like there's a pull, like I need to now take you under my wing, or I feel like I have to complain and blame you for something. If you own it using I language, because part of how do you sense a victim triangle? You feel like there's a pull. You'll be sitting with someone, and suddenly there's a pull that you need to be reacting in a certain way. You need to be saying something or going out of your way, or you'll find yourself suddenly giving them a lot of help, a lot of energy, or here's my number, call me at any time. I'm gonna help you. I'm gonna save you. If you feel yourself activated, then there's a high chance that there's something happening here, like the victim triangle that's being activated. So once you can verbalize that, at least the second I can verbalize saying, or I'm really feeling this urge of, then it's already stepping a little bit away from the victim triangle. And the last thing I'd say is you can also ask that person, or think with yourself, is how is that serving us? How did that serve me? And how is that meaningful for my partner, or for my colleague, or for my son or daughter, or for my friend? Because they're also gaining something. And we spoke about second order change, and the victim triangle is going to be hard to kind of loosen up, especially if the system's in balance and if this relationship is used to us going between these three polarities. It's going to take blood, sweat, and tears, but at the end of the day, liberating yourself from the victim triangle enables you to bring more sides of yourself and to see more sides of the other. Having a richer, fuller relationship. I feel responsible for myself. I know you can take care of yourself. I choose to be in a relationship with you. I choose to feel love. There's no pity. There's no fantasies of savior. And I wish all of you a lot of success in recognizing the victim triangles in your life and maybe stepping out of them, and I'd be happy to help you all find a way to soften them up and move out of them to more differentiated, holistic relationships with the people you love. I'm Dr. Assael Romanelli, and this is The Potential State.